Well, hello.
Hello.
Anybody out there?
Hello.
Would love to have a conversation. The Christmas journey is specifically the Christian journey with the birth of the Christ and the journey itself. And interestingly enough, the Christmas journey from conception in Mary all the way until the child grows, there are likenesses to other journeys we travel. And you might be saying to yourself, what would those be? This morning, let's look at elements of the spiritual awakening. Who here is a person who has experienced an awakening? Can I just see a show of hands? Have you seen the light? Who here is waiting for an awakening?
I'll take another.
Okay, we'll take another one.
Sure.
The Christmas journey is really about the dawning of awareness of the Lord. It's really about the dawning and the awakening moment where you not only think about God, but it's really about a whole experience and a knowing that takes place in your being, and it permeates everything in your life. If you've ever been through addiction, and you have that moment where you're ready to surrender, and you realize that life has become unmanageable, and there's something larger than yourself that is benevolent and good, and you kneel and you ask for help. If you've ever lost somebody who is in your life every day, and you say, I can't go on without this person anymore. Or you live with someone, or you work with someone who you can't deal with. And you have to kneel and say, God, I need you. This is all the awakening and the dawning of the light in us. It could also just be that when you're 51 and you realize that everything that is good is present and that God is in everyone. So the Christmas journey is about the dawning of the awakening of your knowing of God. And it has elements to many other journeys that aren't Christian, by the way. And one of the elements in the Christian journey that speaks to us every year is the coming of grave darkness. Has anybody been in the dark night of the soul? Yeah?
Yeah.
In the Christmas journey, this is marked by Herod ordering the slaughter of every 2-year-old and under male, and the cry and the weep of their mothers. This is the mark of grave darkness in the Christmas story. And it is in us when worldly authorities are seen and cast out, and then we realize we have only one who is above us, and one who is our God. Rather than following the ego or the mind's dictates of things we must do, now the one becomes the boss, if you will. This is the mark of a spiritual awakening, is realizing that everything in our minds that cause us to be in chains are no longer needed to be in chains, that we are free. Another mark of the spiritual journey is that it comes quietly. It comes gently. Like the birth of Jesus. The birth comes, and how many people knew he was born? Do we know? A handful of people know that the Savior was born on the night he was born. So like our spiritual journey, It comes gently and quietly. And sometimes we don't even know when the shift has come. Then it is marked also by a sense of trouble. Have you ever had an aha moment? You feel so alive. And you say, life is going to be different now. My faith is here. I'm alive. It's real. And then trouble comes and you go, what? Have you ever had that? I remember in college, I was in my 20s, and I knew the Lord had come to me, and I was so alive, and I was so happy, and I was singing, and I was going to social work classes, and all of a sudden, everything crashed. Many times in the spiritual awakening journey, we are touched by God, and then trouble comes. And we see that in the Christmas story. Look at Mary. Look at Mary. Mary, she is told that she has been conceived with this child who will be different. And look, as he grows, he's 12 years old, and she can't find him. And she is anxious and looking for him, and he says, "Why are you looking for me? I'm about my Father's business." Can you imagine how alone and forgotten Mary felt? Can you imagine, have you ever grown in a way as a person where all of a sudden your friends and your family and maybe your colleagues say, you've changed, and they don't change. And then you feel like you've lost a family member or two. Or maybe you've lost a friend because you've changed and grown. Or perhaps a colleague that you've loved to spend time with. And all of a sudden, you're growing and expanding. You still love them, but they feel a change and a difference. So in the journey of awakening, sometimes trouble comes. Trouble follows, and it doesn't mean we're faithless. It doesn't mean that we or someone else has done something wrong if people fall away. It just means that we're growing and changing, and we're reprioritizing. And God is bringing new life, new people, new resources into our lives. Another change with spiritual awakening and the spiritual journey, and this is a big one, is that our stereotypes start to fall away. And we all have them. We all have ideas of others that we categorize in our minds. We all say, well, this type of person is this way. We say, my brother is this way. My mother, my father, my sister, my brother, my lover, my child is this way. And everything that we think of people begins to change. Because in the Christmas journey and in many journeys of growth, what happens is everything in our outside construct of what we think and know begins to go deeper inside, where we're more alive, where our ideas are more a sense of knowing rather than thinking about. So this Christmas journey specifically is about a softening and a humbling of your mind and heart, so that you actually know truth in a softer way. And the people that you think you know, the realities that you have judged, the chains that you think have bound you, no longer are what's real. But it is something deeper inside you that causes a shift and a new birth. So open your mind to that. There is another element. This is exciting. that when you have a birth, when you have a spiritual awakening, the Christmas journey in you takes place, and you wake up to a new life. Does anybody here feel like you've been just living the same old life? Bella, interesting. Bree, our children feel they're living, Brian, the same old life. When Christmas comes, we change. And so what's marked by the Christmas journey and many spiritual awakenings is the presence of extraordinary witnesses. In the Christmas story, it is the three wise men, it's the shepherds, the angels, of course the heavenly hosts. What did I leave out, kids? Who else was by the manger besides the shepherds that saw, the three wise men, the heavenly hosts and angels? There's somebody else that was at the manger when the drummer boy, that's a good one. Sheep. Animals.
Mother.
Mother. Joseph. So the Christmas journey and many spiritual awakening journeys that are not Christian, any faith can have this aspect, is the presence of extraordinary witnesses. And what this does is it reflects back the importance and the holiness of a moment we have. So partly with Christmas, why Christmas, I believe, must be in community, is that each of us experiences the same old life, a Christmas every year. But every Christmas, are we the same? No. And so the people who know us and who witness the change, they reflect back what is holy and good, so that we get a sense of God in the journey. So, the birth that takes place in us is a birth of awareness, and it's a birth of awakening. And isn't it interesting that the quiet, silent change and changes that take place in us are the most powerful, transformative, beautiful, mysterious changes that we go through. So at Christmas time, I invite you to take quiet moments, to notice yourself and the Holy One in you. I am just as much like you, that I get so busy and I do so much, and I want to live and be active, and I want to frolic at Christmas. I want to be among those who sparkle. And I want to be where the music is and where the people are gathering. And I also want to take that quiet moment, and I invite you to do that too, where it's just you and the Lord. No one else around. And just listen. Listen for the shift and the awakening. Merry Christmas. And as we now gather to give our gifts for the Christmas offering, the choir is singing to you, and we want to sing to you and let it be the whole song before we pass the plate. So we'll sing and then we'll pass the plate, and Karen will bless the ivories afterwards and play something.